What's going on, guys? I am out on the beautiful Lake Superior right now. I'm out in the Bayfield Washburn area right now, and we just finished up shooting a bunch of content for the Predator tip-up with the Clam Outdoors crew. We had an epic morning, caught some big browns, splake, burbot, and that went really, really well. So I'm gonna stick it out in this spot for a little bit longer, but my main plan is tonight, moving into the bay and targeting burbot and camping out on the ice. And then tomorrow, we're gonna stay in the bay, target some multi-species, and I'm gonna show you guys how I set up and kind of how to bring fish to you and how to catch them when they come in. Not only that, I'm gonna add a bunch more information in this video and just a little segment on each one of the cold water species of fish that you can target here and how to catch them through the ice. We're gonna cover whitefish, burbot, lake trout, splake, brown trout, and kind of go through each one and how to target them. So it's gonna be a great video, packed with information, hopefully some fish catches too. So stay tuned, let's go fishing. Oh, here we go. Come on, hit it. Oh, he's chasing. It's gotta be a whitefish. He's still on it. There, got him. Fish on. Oh, he chased it a long way. He just got nose on it and just started hammering down on it. And I basically couldn't get it away from him fast enough. And then I just let him catch up to it. Whammo. Definitely acting whitefishy. Come on, buddy, come on. Oh yeah, nice whitefish. There we go, guys. On the Euro Tackle T-Flasher, my typical go-to spoon up here. Beautiful whitefish. That's the first one today. We've had them chasing all day long, and we just haven't been able to actually put one on the ice. They've been real finicky today, but that is pretty cool. Glad I stayed for a little bit longer out here. Added another fish to the bag, so it's been a great multi-species day so far. Well, guys, I picked up that one whitefish, but it is time to go. So I'm gonna pack this stuff up and we're gonna head into the bay and get set up early enough that we might pick up a couple other fish and then be in place for that right at dark, hopefully burbot bite. So we are gonna pack up and we're gonna move about 4 or 5 miles right now, and we'll set up camp. So let's get her done. All right, guys, so the plan is to drive the truck all the way around to the other side of the bay here, and we're actually going to drive the truck out on the ice and set up camp out there. So while I'm driving, this will be a great time to go over a few of those fish species that we can catch out here on Lake Superior and where to find them and how to catch them. So brown trout are a stocked fish here in Lake Superior. They're stocked by the Wisconsin DNR. So there is some natural reproduction in the rivers flowing into this area, but primarily the browns are stocked. Now, browns are a great fish to target in Lake Superior. They fight hard, they're fairly easy to catch, and they're good eating out of this lake. So browns, I would say, typically we're catching in 15 to 40 feet of water. They don't tend to be super deep a lot. However, we have caught them as deep as 90 feet on the bottom. So they're a pretty diverse fish. For the most part, like 20 to 30 feet is a great place to start if you're looking for browns. And they can be caught using the typical smaller spoons. You know, slender, heavy spoons are typically best. Vibrating baits, any kind of minnow style bait, but on the smaller side, is going to catch browns. And then probably my personal favorite way to catch them is on an automatic hook setting device with a lake shiner. That is your best bet if you just want to catch browns. Set those up while you're jigging, and oftentimes we've had better days on the autos than we have actually jigging. So now you can catch browns anywhere, but they do like to kind of go mid column. So I like to fish in, say I'm fishing 40 feet of water, I like to kind of put some lines at about 20, about halfway down. So it seems like browns really like to cruise that mid water column. And then another good kind of depth to set up is about 5 to 8 feet off the bottom is another place you oftentimes see browns kind of coming through. So that's brown trout. Now let's move on to splake. Splake are another stocked species up here in Lake Superior. Delicious meat. They're a cross between a brook trout and a lake trout, so they're super hardy. They grow really fast. They stick near shorelines usually. They don't go super deep, so they're very accessible to anglers. And unfortunately, the splake stocking program is ending. And if you guys are not in favor of that, like me, write the DNR and tell them you're not happy about it, because they are one of the most consistent fish out here, and they're delicious, they're easy to catch, they're aggressive, they're just the perfect stocking fish, and we want to see more stocking, not less here. There's more pressure in this area on Lake Superior lately, and we want to see more stocking and not stocking programs ended. So make sure you put your input in there on the splake. Now, to catch splake, we often catch them really shallow compared to all the other fish. So I've caught them as shallow as 5 or 6 feet. They tend to kind of run those shorelines in structure. They're a little more structure oriented stocked trout. So if you got a rock pile or a point, anything like that with some drop off of it, that's a great place to target splake. And same spoons and jigs and automatics with shiners will catch them as will catch browns, but splake are much more susceptible to a dead bait on the bottom as well. So that's one of the things I'm targeting with that smelt here today is splake. And that little bit of lake trout in them kind of has them totally fine with scavenging off the bottom. So make sure that that's in your bag of tricks if you're targeting splake. Well, hopefully that was helpful, guys. I got a few more fish species coming up later in this video, but right now we got to make 2 stops here in Ashland. Number 1, the quick trip to get us some snacks and some dinner to cook out on the ice. Number 2, we got to stop at the River Rock to get some more bait. So let's make those 2 stops and we'll get out there and get set up. Well, I got out here and I got set up right as the sun was setting, so I didn't have a lot of time to fish during daylight, but now it's time to set up for burbot. And the first thing we need to do is catch some fresh smelt. You can use frozen smelt, but fresh smelt are much better. I'll either put them down dead or I'll put them down alive on the bottom. And that's kind of my go-to out here on Lake Superior for burbot. I got a couple buddies who are out here with me right now. They already caught one just a few minutes ago on a smelt. So now we got to get our own. So what I'm going to use is just a little tungsten T-flasher and a dropper chain with a couple spikes on it. I'm going to drop that down. That spoon helps hold that bait in the current, and then that little dropper chain gives the smelt a little meat to chew on the bottom of that bait. So I'm just going to drop it down where I see smelt. They're almost always on the electronics. There's tons of them down there, especially if you have a little light in your shack. They really come into that. And I'm just going to pull it away from them. Oh, there's one right there. I'm just going to pull it away from them if I see one kind of moving towards it, and they'll chase it and grab that little treble just like that. So that's pretty much all there is to it, catching smelt for bait out here. As soon as I get a couple of them, I'm going to put 2 tip-ups out, and then we're going to catch a bunch of extra for the night, for burbot throughout the night so we can rebait. Once we get that done, then it's time to cook some dinner. Alright, so here's my typical burbot setup. I'm going to take that smelt that I just caught. I'm going to hook that on a treble hook. I'm either going to leave it alive or kill it depending on the look I want, but oftentimes I've had best luck with live smelt. I'm going to put 2 split shot just about 6 inches up from that bait and drop that all the way to the bottom. And you can do this with either a conventional tip up or the Predator tip up set in flag mode, because we want that burbot to eat the bait and run with it. I typically don't use auto hook setting devices for burbot, especially with bigger baits. So then we're gonna hook up our vulture so we get an alert when this goes up, and then we wait. Well guys, I had a great idea to cook some hot dogs on the Coleman stove, and when I opened it up, my adapter for my gas slipped out and fell down the hole, and I watched it fall all the way down to the bottom of my Vexilar. So it's down there on the sand 30 feet below me right now. So it looks like I'm going to be roasting hot dogs on my clam heater tonight. Well guys, I'm getting resourceful out here on the ice. I used a piece from my old tire jack as a skewer, and that's what I'm heating this hot dog up on over my clam heater. So it's working for me. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but I've got 3 lines out there with smelt on the bottom, and I've got my vulture here, so if we get a bite on those, I'll know immediately. And I might jig for burbot here in a little while as well, but I'll have to pull a line if I do that after I'm done eating here. So we'll probably fish till 10, 11, and then we're just going to let all 3 lines soak overnight with the vulture on, and that's going to wake me up. So speaking of waking up, my sleeping arrangements, I'm going to sleep in my truck. If I can drive out, that's the way I find most comfortable to sleep. And I've done the hub camping, you know, hub shelter camping, and that works, but I find it more comfortable to sleep in my truck. So I've just got my 2-man Nanook here, and that's what I'm fishing out of while I'm here, but I'm actually going to sleep in the truck tonight. So, well, that said, why don't we go over a couple more of those species that you can catch here in Lake Superior, and maybe you guys can learn a thing or two while I'm cooking dinner. Now, another common fish in this area that was stocked at one point but has now become naturalized, or they basically spawn and that's the only reproduction now, are the coho salmon. So cohos kind of go in cycles. One year there'll be a lot of them and they'll be a little smaller. A couple years later there might be fewer but bigger ones. And in the wintertime, most of the cohos are under about 20 inches out here, but they are one of the best eating fish and they're really, really fun to catch. They can give you some good action. And cohos typically bite the same stuff that the trout do, small spoons and jigs and shiners on set lines, you know, autos. But cohos are very much more willing to run high in the water column. They don't always, like today I've caught them near the bottom, but oftentimes we'll catch them running with herring way up high in the top 10 to 20 feet, even over 100 feet of water. So if we're seeing herring around, the cohos will often swim with them, and I think they use the herring for cover to ambush bait fish. And they almost school with the herring. And oftentimes we'll catch them way up high, just under the ice, basically, on autos, especially with shiners on them. So don't be afraid to put 1 or 2 autos out there way up high and target those cohos coming through high. And they're just a really, really fun fish to catch, and honestly the best eating fish out here, in my opinion. So definitely make sure that you're prepared to catch those guys, and they're pretty aggressive, so they're really not hard to catch. They're one of the most willing fish to bite when they come through. Now let's move on to some of the actual native fish here in Lake Superior. We'll start with the whitefish. Very similar tactics that we're going to use to catch whitefish that we're using for the trout. You know, small spoons and jigs, and I've caught a lot of whitefish on automatics on the lake shiners as well. And one of the tricks I use for whitefish is to leave a long leader between my sinkers and my hook, and what that does is it allows the minnow to swim away from the fish when it sees it for quite a ways. One thing about whitefish is they want to chase up, and if they don't get a chance to chase the bait up, they're oftentimes not going to bite. Same thing when you're jigging. If you get a fish coming in, you want to start raising it and making that fish play cat and mouse with your bait. And it seems like that's the only thing that will trigger these whitefish a lot of times. So make sure that is part of your repertoire when you're out here targeting whitefish. The reason that they chase so much is because they're eating baby smelt. A lot of fish out here are eating smelt, but especially whitefish, they really like those 2 and 3 inch smelt. And they're much more aggressive than whitefish in a lot of other places that are more bug eating whitefish. And they will happily chase down a spoon because they're used to chasing down those baby smelt. So that's kind of your whitefish, and they can be found more typically in depths of about 20 to 60, 70 feet, even up to 80. And they'll travel in typically pairs or threes or small schools. That's kind of what you see typically with whitefish. These guys are on burbot number 4. I don't have any yet. This might be 5. We'll see. Got that burbot look to it. Smaller one. Real small one. Well, that's something different. Look at that. A bent walleye. Bent walleye. Ate a dead smelt. Look at that. That is crazy.
Hunchback of Chequamegon Bay.
Hunchback of Chequamegon Bay. How do you measure that one? Can you straighten it?
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Thing's a light colored thing.
I mean, that is light.
Well, that was kind of a crazy catch, to catch a crooked walleye on a dead smelt on the bottom, but those guys are doing a little bit better than me. I haven't had a bite on my smelt yet. I decided to jig a little bit here and see if I can't get one on a glow spoon with some minnows on it, but I'm probably only going to give it about 15-20 minutes and then head to bed here. So that said, we will probably be waking up sometime tonight with the beep of the vulture waking us up to go catch a burb, so I'm counting on it. We'll catch you later. Alright guys, first bite. Let's go get him. About 1:30 here. This guy is running. There we go. Fish on. Ooh, feels decent. Yeah, big head shakes. It's not a small one. He took out some line. Man, it feels big. Wow. Wow. Jeez. Feels really nice. He almost spooled me. Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one. It's a big one. Oh, oh yeah. That right there is what we're after. That is a tank of a burbot. Just a beast. That's why we do it. That is awesome. What a fish. That's got to be, I'm guessing 6-7 pounds, probably pushing 28, 29 inches. Awesome first one for the night. Not a bad one. You guys get one too?
I caught a really nice walleye.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Let's see that. Look at that. Nice. That's a beautiful walleye.
Very pretty.
Got a little run here at 1:30 a.m. Big burbot, big walleye. Can't beat that. Nice. Alright, just out of curiosity, I'm going to put this guy on the board here. Bump him all the way to the end. 29.5. Almost a 30. Really nice burbot. I believe the boys have another flag. Do they know? They should. Fish on.
Fish on.
Looks decent.
Looks decent.
Looks real decent. That one I just caught was almost 30.
It's not that decent.
No, he's just a fighter.
Sweet.
Another one.
Another one bites the dust. I actually caught that one in the hook set mode.
Oh, okay.
And I just had the drag set super light.
Okay. So that was in auto mode?
Auto mode. Yeah.
Nice. Well, guys, that was a nice little run. We got a couple more burbot. I got my first one, which was a tank at almost 30 inches. And my buddy Amos got a really nice walleye on a dead smelt, which is interesting. That's the second walleye tonight on a dead smelt on the bottom. Not exactly a conventional walleye technique, but it's working. So it's 2 o'clock now, I'm heading back to bed, and hopefully we get woken up again by the old vulture here. Oh, so fun. Love it. Well, good morning, guys. It is 6 a.m. I only caught one burbot overnight, but it was a really, really big one. And the other guys caught quite a few. So, successful night out here on the ice. And now it's time to rearrange things, get the shack set up, and kind of get ready for that daytime bite out here. So, I'm going to eat some breakfast and get to work. All right, guys. Well, here's my game plan for this morning. I'm going to leave one set line out with a dead smelt on it. We do see a few fish come through early in the morning sometimes and hit that dead smelt, sometimes burbot, sometimes flake. And depending on what I see on my electronics, I may change that out to a live shiner a little bit later. And then I've decided to actually set up a predator in the shack as kind of a dead stick with me here. And then I'm going to jig with my other line. And that's kind of my main game plan here for a while. I may change that too, depending on how it goes, but that's what I'm going to start with. A lot of times you jig and have that live bait in the same area, and it's a really good way to attract fish and catch fish in two different ways to the same spot. So you can kind of catch the fish's attention. And that's my plan. So we'll see how it goes here. All right, guys. I just saw a fish racing up to the predator tip up, and I saw it smash that minnow down there, and that is the biggest white perch I've ever seen. I don't even know how big they get, but that is probably pushing over a pound. That's huge. That's a giant white perch, and we can keep them in Lake Superior, so I'm going to keep that one to eat. I've heard they're good. I've never actually eaten one. You couldn't keep them for a while. They're an invasive species, but they changed the rules on them, and you can keep them now. So we are going to keep this one and try it. So that's the first fish in daylight here. Pretty cool. Another fish on the predator tip up here. Ooh, nice yellow perch this time. There was two of them that came up and chased my jig, and then they ate the minnow. Nice. That's definitely a keeper, probably 12-inch yellow perch. We'll take that. So now we got a white and a yellow. Cool. Bunch of smelt down there. My buddy just caught a nice splake over there too. So there's definitely some fish around, and hopefully we can get something else. Putting a bunch of species on the ticket, that's for sure. All right, guys, a little mid-morning report here. I'm sitting at one keeper yellow perch and one keeper white perch here this morning. My buddies just caught a couple keeper pike too, and pretty interesting. They're catching those on dead smelt as well. So we are up to 10 species here in the last 2 days. We've got splake, brown trout, whitefish, burbot, smelt, herring, yellow perch, white perch, walleye, and pike. So that's why I love it up here right there. I mean, there's just so many different species. It's a true multi-species place to fish, and you never know what's coming up the hole next. So I'm gonna fish about another hour here. Hopefully we can catch one more fish or two, but then I'm gonna pack it up. But while I'm trying to catch this last fish here, let's go over a couple more species that you can catch up here on Lake Superior. Now, another native fish species that I really like to target here in Lake Superior is burbot. Burbot are in the cod family. They're one of the best eating fish in the lake, in my opinion. They're cold water fish, and there's a lot of them naturally reproducing in Lake Superior. And a lot of them spend a lot of the time in the Chequamegon Bay, Apostle Islands area. And they're very easy to catch on the bottom. That's where you're gonna get them. And the dead smelt on the bottom will definitely pick up burbot, especially during the daytime. Nighttime, a great way to catch them is jigging with a heavy glow spoon. That's a great option for burbot. They can see that glow, they hear it pounding on the bottom, and that's what you want to do. You want to pound into the mud and the sand, and then just raise it up, and oftentimes those burbot will come in and just smash it. Really fun to catch, good fighters, good eating fish, and another great fish to target up here on Lake Superior. All right, let's talk about another native fish, and this is probably the premier fish of Lake Superior, and that is the lake trout. Lake Superior is known for some of the biggest lake trout out there, and large numbers of lake trout. It's a great lake trout fishery. They've been here for thousands of years, and we have a great population of them right now. Now, lake trout are very good to eat as well, but I typically keep the smaller ones, and they're really good smoked. They're one of the best smoked fish you can get. So The big ones we like to release, and they get really big. That's the other thing about lake trout. If you get out in some of the deeper water out here, you've got a chance at a true giant fish. Now that said, deeper water is typically where we do target lake trout. Typically depths over 60 feet and up to 250 feet are where we typically catch more lake trout. So they're more of a deep water fish, and we jig with bigger baits typically for lake trout too. A lot of times we'll be using big plastics, something like, you know, a big tube like that with a stinger hook on it, or bigger spoons. We'll jig with paddle tail swim baits, you know, stuff that looks like one of those larger smelt is kind of what we typically use for the lake trout. And the lakers are very aggressive, and they will chase up and down the water column. They can come in right under the ice at 150 feet of water. They can come in on the bottom at 200. You just got to watch your electronics and see where they're at and make sure you're working that whole water column. Now another trick for lake trout is you really can do well on that dead smelt, just like you can with splake. Lay that dead smelt on the bottom, especially where lakers are a little bit shallower, like under 100 feet, and watch that flag, and they will pick that dead smelt right up off the bottom, and it's a great way to catch some extra lakers. So that's your lake trout. Now a couple honorable mentions when it comes to fish out here would be the herring, which I mentioned when I talked about cohos. The herring are a native fish species to the lake. They're similar to the whitefish, but they have an upturned mouth instead of a downturned mouth, and they feed in mainly the mid column in large schools. So if you see a huge school of bigger fish come through, it's most likely herring. And they'll bite really tiny jigs and spoons. Sometimes they'll hit an actual like trout size spoon, but they tend to be more finicky. And then, you know, a lot of times a great bait is that same thing I'm using for the smelt, a dropper chain with some live bait on it for the herring. And they're actually pretty good to eat. A lot of people don't like to keep them or eat them, but in my opinion, they're quite tasty, and they're actually not any harder to fillet than a trout. So if I get some big herring, I usually keep them. And the smaller ones make great bait for lake trout. You can cut them into strips and use the strips for lake trout. So another honorable mention would be steelhead. They're very difficult to target out here. It's not like Lake Michigan where there's tons of them just moving into the harbors and stuff all the time, but they are out here and you may catch one. Be aware it's 26-inch limit, minimum limit on those fish, so most of them are not keepable size, but they are fun to catch and they'll give you a really good fight. Another fish you may run into out here, and I've only caught one over the years ice fishing, and that's a king salmon. Same regulations as the cohos, but they just don't tend to be in this area in the winter time like the cohos are, so it's a pretty rare catch to catch a king around here. That pretty much covers all the cold water species. I'm not really going to get into the warm water species in Chequamegon Bay. You know, we've got smallmouth bass, pike, walleye, perch. You guys already kind of know how to catch most of those, and it's pretty similar out here. A lot of times those are just kind of accidental bycatch when guys are fishing these trout and salmon species. So hopefully that helps you kind of get an idea of what to expect when you're coming up here and kind of how to target each one of those fish. So we're going to keep fishing here and see if we can put a couple more on the ice. Fish coming in on the minnow. There's two fish down there actually. They look like perch. They're definitely not smelt. I got to get down there with my jig. I'm going to put a little billy rub nugget on here. Let's see if we can get one quick. Oh, they're still there. They won't eat the minnow though. Maybe they'll hit this. Oh, there's one. There's one. We got him. We got him. I think it's another big perch. Oh, another big white perch. Look at that. Ha! That is cool. Getting into the white perch. Look at that guy. He's an eater too. Not quite as big as the first one I caught, but there was two of them that came in that time. And they really like those shiners. That is a cool fish. I'm excited to try these out and eat them. Never had them before, so we'll put him on the ice and keep fishing. Oh, fish coming in, fish coming in. Fish coming in. Come on, buddy. Come on, come on, come on. Got him. Got him. What do we got? Feels like a perch, I'm guessing. Just by the way I was acting. Yep, another nice perch. Man, these are beautiful. Lake Superior perch. Really good eating fish too. Nice. We'll take it. Well, as much as I hate to say it, guys, it is time for me to pack up and go home. I got a lot of work to do to get everything packed up and back in the truck, and then a bit of a drive home. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you got something out of this video. Maybe you learned a thing or two. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more like this one out there and a lot more coming. So thanks again, guys. We'll catch you next time. Get hooked up.